Well, he took a gamble, and it could have gone very wrong. When you are a new head coach who's heading the Indian football team, the one thing you can be assured of is that there's 1,000 people just waiting for you to fail. Other coaches who want your job, fans who don't like the way you're playing. We saw this happen with Constantine, we saw this happen with the guy before him, and the guy before him, and the guy before him. Doesn't matter who you are, people are just waiting for you to lose so that you can be blamed and brought down. It's a coveted position, and until you do something very incredible, you don't get universal acclaim. And I don't know what Igor Stimac has done. He's just been around for 2 weeks and played 2 matches, lost one, won one. And all of a sudden, he's got literally everybody backing him. And I'm actually surprised because I was sure somebody would find some fault. And it seems all the fans are with him, all the critics are with him. Everybody loves the way the Indian football team is playing. Even when they lost to Curacao, the way India fought was praised universally. It was very refreshing not to hear the words being repeated like a meme, fought hard but lost. But actually there was appreciation. Like the way there was when India lost to UAE. Because that's what we want. Short passes, trying to do something different, trying to be dominant in the midfield, and having a limited amount of success against a remarkably better team. And then comes the Thailand game, and it all went in a direction nobody saw coming. Kevin, 2 matches you've seen of the Igor Stimac era. How do you sum it up?
It's fresh, and it's something that we've been wanting to see for a long time, and glimpses of it were shown at the time of the team selection. The first 11 was put out, and we already knew that this is something that is going to surprise us, and it did pleasantly. The game was excellent to watch, free flowing to some extent. Well, we've fixed some problems. We've got new problems, but that's all part of the system that is about to change, and the change has already begun. Really, this was a tournament for us to kickstart a new development in Indian football, and rightly, I think we've taken a giant step, and things are looking right. Talk about the players, talk about the mood in the camp. It's all there, and uh, even if it was a short tournament, I think this was all worth it to go there all the way. Great support from the away end as well, and we have a coach who's interacting, who's talking, who's loved by the players, and it's so many different things coming together for Indian football that you really feel this is something. It will end up as something bright and beautiful, and we've seen it's already happening. So it brings a smile on your face when you see some things happening. You take a risk, a small gamble, and it works out in your favor. And the first match was good enough for surprises. The second match was just double the excitement, and Sunil Chetri on the bench. Who can imagine that? That's the power of the change that we've been wanting to see, and it's slowly to begin to sink in now.
You said it's a small gamble. I don't think it's a small gamble. It was a huge bet to make, and that's where he has proven a lot of people wrong, because even including me, because when I heard some murmurs that a lot of changes were going to be made, and I was like, okay, maybe 3, 4, 5 at best, and then I got that start list, and I was like, what is going down? Has he made his first critical mistake? But it just turned up in a very different way. The way India played the game, the way India made their presence felt, it just felt like I was looking at a whole different dimension of perception of possibilities being opened up for the Indian national team in front of me. Now, one thing I should I will go on a bit of a long background story to sort of break this down for the listeners, because as you know, I am here. I am attending the matches in Buriram, and obviously there was a bit of a back and forth with everyone at TFG. Should I come here? It's just 2 matches, and I'm so glad I made the trip, and got to see up close how the new coach is settling in and how he's running things at the camp. One thing I have never seen anybody do. Obviously, I mean, my experience would be limited because I've only started covering as, I mean, I've been watching all my life, but started going to the matches and covering as a reporter only after Stephen Constantine came up. But I have seen a lot of clubs practicing, a number of international football teams practicing. I saw at least 10 teams doing their practice sessions in Asian Cup, but I have never seen a coach behave with his players the way he does, right? We can go back to the things he does publicly. One that we have all seen, the clip with TFG, Amarjit Singh Kiyam was giving the interview, and Igor Stimac steps in the middle of the interview and gives him a little word of praise. Just a little thing, it takes 10 seconds to get it done. That's a 10-second clip. But you could see in Amarjit's face the impact it has on him, the genuine smile that came over him. And he said, I'm so lucky that I'm with this team, with these players, with this coach. It makes a huge difference in the way he sees himself and the way he he envisions his career to go. When a coach of his stature, he's won the bronze medal in the World Cup as a player, then he has coached the Croatia national team. He's been at the highest level. When he comes and publicly claims that you are the man of the match at a moment when you don't expect that, it has a huge effect on the player. That is what he's doing publicly. Privately, at the practice sessions, especially talking about the practice session on the 6th, which is one day after the Curacao game, right? And it's usually after the match day plus one is a kind of a light training session, mostly focused on recovery. Most of the players who played like most of the game would go to the recovery session under the physical trainer, hit the pools, jacuzzi, whatever. At the practice session, it would be mostly the substitutes who came on for 15 minutes or those who did not play at all. And that's what it was for India that day. You know what he was doing, Igor Stimac? They did not start the session with a warm-up or anything. First thing Igor Stimac did, it was about to rain, the clouds were gathering. I was thinking like, okay, I should get going or my entire equipment would get drenched. But first thing he does, no hurry. He comes in, far end of the pitch. It's a huge training pitch at Buriram. On one end, Curacao team is doing their practice. On the other end, there's a separate pitch which was being used for the Buriram United under 15 team earlier. They finished their training, then Indian team came in and they had 1 hour or 1 hour and a half allotted. No hurry. No going into training or get ready or do drills or whatever. He got them together in the middle of the pitch. All the players sat in circle and Igor Stimac just started talking. Okay, and I caught a little bit of it. I will not repeat it here. It's meant to be between the coach and the players. But it was motivational talk. It was sharing experiences. It was opening up to the players in a way I have not seen many coaches do, especially new coaches. He was opening himself up. He was making players feel that he's going to be there for them. They can approach him with whatever they need. He was sharing his emotions with them, right? And I have not seen a coach bond with a team like that ever before. Other coaches have their own methods. He was just putting it out there. He was telling about important matches and how he feels. And I had no idea that surrounding him, sitting in that middle of that pitch, and just with the dark clouds gathering, it makes for an ominous picture now that I think about it. But surrounding him were the players who were going to start against Thailand. And if you had told me at that moment, I would have totally laughed it off. Like, these guys are gonna start. That's what you're telling me. Impossible. You know, where is Sunil? Where is Udanta? Where is Pranoy? It's where is Gurpreet? You know, it was such a surprising decision to make, but he was priming these players up psychologically. He was pumping them up. He was talking about chances that come to you as a player and what you should do. And what does this lot do when they go out and play Thailand? Adil Khan playing after how many years for the national team? Subhashish Bose throwing himself out as usual. Anirudh Thapa playing beyond himself. Now, there's a very interesting parallel to draw for him, which we will get into as we discuss the match in detail. Balwant Singh playing like everything is on stake. Rainier obviously is getting a big opportunity and he's making the most of it. Farooq Chaudhary, the most unlucky player out there, but he literally gave it his all. Amrinder, dude, you are a coach. You deal with players who need a lot of motivation, right? You deal with junior players who need that extra bit of pushing to go out there and perform. This coach was dealing with a bunch of professionals who have been playing for years, but they are not 100% in their confidence that they can really represent India. They can carry the Indian flags to basically, because that's what our perception is. We need Udanta, we need Sunil, we need Gurpreet, we need Pranoy, we need Pritam. These are the guys who will hold different departments of the team and the others will rally around them. These guys just went out there. They were put in that position to perform. They did it, and it was not a coincidence. It was Igor Stimac who literally primed them psychologically and physically to go out there and get the job done. What parallel do you find between what he's doing and what a coach does with the junior players, with giving them motivation and getting 180% out of them on a big occasion?
No, we really have to believe that when it's the opening whistle goes, the kickoff whistle is given by the referee. It's all up to the players. You can only train the players to a certain extent, and beyond the first whistle, it's all on the players. So to get them out there in their head, it has to be very clear what is the aim, and that is what is the most difficult part in coaching. The players are the ones who will be delivering, and if they are not really clear in their head, if they are not really motivated, if they don't know what is lying behind, what are they playing for, they are away in a country which is known to invite a few teams for a tournament, and at a juncture where you really have not much time but to work with the players, it's all that you can do. Talk to them, make them feel that you are one with them. And his experience in the World Cup, his experience with so many teams is helping them. And when a coach says that he understands the players, it really means a lot for them. And we were reading about articles, how players are talking about the new head coach being very approachable, and that says a lot about his personality. If you have a coach who you can run up to with your problems, that really shows commendable work in a short span of time. And that's what he's laid the groundwork for, to have and come and talk to him. Likewise, he's been talking to players. It's rightly, Chiranjit, you said what we seen from him was only publicly, but what players talk about him is the real deal. There you find Igor Stimac going and talking to players individually. Even in the pictures, the team training pictures, we see you have a bunch of players practicing at one end of the pitch, and he's having his hand on one of the players' shoulder and talking to that player. This is a different method of working with the players. He's getting in one page with them. He wants them to know that he's available. He wants them to know that he can see the potential in them, and just he just wants them to go as far as possible, and he's giving all the support and all the push that is required. Had you got a professional speaker to speak to the team and say that this is your potential, you go out and give your best. I think he's doing the job of a mentor. He's doing the job of a buddy. He's just being like one of the players, and that could be the best that the players have asked for. It's refreshing to know all this, and I think the Indian team is in good hands.
I was having this debate with somebody who's also deep into Indian football, who goes out and talks about it at a very high platform. After the India versus Curacao game, I was a little bit concerned because my perception, which I have to confess is a rather limited and short-sighted one, and selfish a little bit as a fan. My perception is that you can't really teach an ambassador to behave like a Ferrari within a couple of weeks and run a Formula One race with it. If you want a Ferrari, you have to buy a Ferrari, or you have to build something that is equivalent, which was the matter of the debate. That if we want Team India to play short passes and dominate in the midfield and all that stuff, we have to do that at under 13 level and start conditioning, do a unified effort throughout the country like Japan did, like Korea did, like go out there and tell all the academies, these are the kind of players you have to churn out. These are the kind of workhorses or the level of creativity that we're looking for from our defenders, from our midfielders, from our strikers, whatever it is, so that 15 years down the line we have a new bunch of players who are bred in that mentality, and they are playing carrying themselves and playing the game in a certain way. We can't just change, however crude it is, our level of performance at the national at the senior level and expect results immediately. It was very simple. Like we played so well against UAE, we ended up losing the game all the same, right? I did not see that as sustainable. Same thing happened with Curacao, and from the very get-go, from the pre-match press conference to the game after, to the press conference after Curacao, Igor Stimac was talking about, we need to change the way we are playing. The fans want beautiful football. The fans want short passes, something that they can get excited about. They don't want long balls and just wing play and all that stuff. I was a bit worried because it's all well and good to try to change everything, but a few matches go by and that does not produce results. Suddenly the fans turn on you, because that's what happens. And I'm guilty of it too. As a fan, we are supposed to react to what the team is doing emotionally, and there's nothing more or less we crave at the end of the day than wins. And having been used to a certain kind of Team India for the last 25 years, I don't give a shit how we win as long as we win, because we don't get too many of those. We don't get to celebrate too often. It was a bit of a fear that was driven into me, and I saw Igor Stimac coming and trying to change everything on a short notice, on a very short time. And I'm like, okay, what if we try it and we just lose to Thailand 3-0? Then what are we left with? Or even we can try that again against Syria or some other team in Intercontinental Cup. What if after a bunch of games we're just ending up with losses? But Igor has just knocked it out of the park. He's not only made India play in a different way. He said he was going to give everybody a chance, and he gave the entire roster a chance to play in the Kings Cup on a very short period of time, and they produced a result. As a coach yourself, do you see a big gamble paying off, or do you see this as or did you expect this rather?
The foundation has to be laid to grow into bigger things. So I think the foundation is laid now by having become one with the players. Winning the trust is more important, and I think if the players cannot communicate openly, it's not going to be working vice versa. The coach is really not being will not be able to work on his part of the training on the players, having the team on one page, and it's already set up. It's a platform that it's going to help players grow. Two varied style of set of players playing in the two matches just leads you to the belief that the coach will go ahead and try out a lot of players. And again, what we see Constantine do, he handed out a lot of debuts, 5 debuts on the first match in charge. It really speaks high volume. He really wants to go out and put a statement, not just filling up the numbers. So we did see quite a good performance in the second half against Curacao, Thailand again. So it's two contrasting mentalities, but it's one, he's heading in the same direction, that having the players on winning their trust, winning their confidence. And if that is possible, I think we can expect a lot of deliverance from the players on the field as well.
I mean, he is totally stealing Constantine's thunder, isn't it? Giving out debuts. I don't think Constantine had like 10 players debuting in the first two games itself. And God knows what he's going to do. You have to give some credit to Constantine for creating a deep national team pool in the first place, but he's just adding to it like there's no tomorrow. It's and who all are missing from this camp. Ashik Kurunian injured. There's so many others. I'm pretty sure Eugenson will make a comeback when he has a good season. He said that he wants competition in the team. That's what he wanted to create. He came to Kings Cup. He wanted to create that new world order in the Indian national team where nobody is irreplaceable and new talent is knocking on the door all the time. He is 100% successful in that, and we don't even have a full squad yet. They're gonna come back. How tough is it going to be from now on to get into the national team? And just the ripple effect it has, right? We know Amarjit can go in there and put in 45 minutes of super performance and get open accolades from the coach, and the coach is actively looking for other players who are performing in the domestic scene and telling them, you're gonna get your chance. I'll change 8 players in the starting lineup if I have to, but damn it, you'll get your chance to prove to me that you're better than the last guy. And who are we talking about after such an important tournament? Like, how many years, after 3-4 decades, we've been invited to this tournament, and we're talking about Amarjit, we're talking about Anirudh, we're talking about Subhashish, we're talking about Farooq. These guys, young players who have just taken over the reins of the Indian national team. Sunil Chetri wasn't even playing in the second match. In the first match, he played well but had limited success. Gurpreet, same thing. Amrinder goes out and gets us clean sheet. And in what way? Adil Khan coming back and literally putting his mind, body and soul on the pitch. I mean, I feel we've talked long enough about Igor Stimac. It's time to delve into the players. Just starting with somebody that I thought we would be giving a lot more time to, but I don't think we'll be able to do that because there's so many people who are who deserve to be talked about here. I want to talk about Rahul Beke. For 2 things, I wanted to start with him. First, because in an exclusive interview to the Fan Garage earlier this year, he said he wants to do 3 things in 2019. Win the ISL with Bengaluru FC, score in the final, and play for India. And lo and behold, within just a few months, 3-4 months, we're not even halfway through the year yet, he's done all 3. So the Rahul Beke, the prophet, he's gone out and gotten himself 2 caps. And the other interesting thing about him is that I think he's the only one concrete mistake that we can point out that Igor Stimac has made. He played him in centre back in the first game and immediately corrected the mistake. In the second game, he was starting at side back. Just looking at him playing in 2 different positions, I thought he improved a little bit in the second game. First game, he did look like a fish out of the water. What do you make of his performance?
Unsettled. I will say unsettled. Beke is into the team, and so will it be for a couple of players. Um, First thing, this is his first camp and this is his first tournament. We really have to give him time along with the other players to just sink in that feeling of playing for the national team. It really showed. It's a different ball game when you talk about club football, talking about national football. It's varied in so many sense. So you can expect the players to be overwhelmed at some time. That fever really got to Beke, and I'm not really blaming him. We've known his potential for a long time. He's come up the ranks. He's moved from club to club just because of his performances. In general, if I talk about the defense, I think we kind of created ourselves a new problem, and we fixed a big problem. Yes, midfield was a big question, and I think midfield is something that looks to be sorted, and it's overflowing with options. But defense is something is really falling short of. It might be just due to the unsettlement of new players, or it could be leading to the combination that we're playing. So Bheke does need some time to mature in as a national team player, but great things lie ahead of him.
Okay, let's go ahead to Farooq Chaudhary. I thought the most unlucky player against Thailand. He was a little bit wobbly, I thought, to begin with. He was settling in, obviously, same kind of jittery case with Rahul Bheke. But he just came to his own and created a good few chances, put a good few balls forward and hit the post, which is heartbreaking for me, because you could see he was putting in that effort physically. He was going beyond himself, and it wasn't really easy. The weather is killer out here. Okay, and being in the stadium is made entirely out of metal. Okay, it's not a concrete stadium, and they crank up the AC everywhere, in the press center, or the dressing rooms. But the moment you step out onto the field, it's like you're just walking in a sauna, and it's not pleasant at all. So imagine how it is for players who are actually going and playing under that sun, and literally getting the worst brunt of this. At least we had a shade to sit under. So these players really just went through hell out there to perform. And Farooq Chaudhary, the amount of ground he was covering, the amount of effort he was putting in, tackles he was going into, I thought it was praiseworthy. And after all of that, you feel one kind of heartbreak when you saw Sunil Chetri hit the woodwork against Curacao. That was bad. But towards the end of the first half, Farooq got that chance, and that could have been 2-0. That game could have been buried right there, and it hit the post. That's a kind of a heartbreak that you don't want to happen to a young player like him, isn't it? What did you think of him?
Yeah, I think he's out there proving himself. So he really has been putting a lot of work rate, and it's understandable that once you're on the field, you really have to give more than what you are capable of, just to have your position, be safeguarded, or having a claim on that position that you're playing in. So Farooq Chaudhary did have a couple of chances. Hitting the post was one. The chance where he could have tried it on himself. He decided to play it square to Balwant Singh, and there's kind of that junior and senior player relationship. I think probably he thought it will be best if he does not try, and Balwant Singh, who's much more senior in the team, can try to get the finish. So yeah, he was there, right up there, created a chance for himself. He could have gone ahead and killed it, but decided probably it's not his best moment. And he's right up there. I think he is really going to be fighting for his place in the team.
There are a way more bunch of young players to talk about before we get to the ones I really want to talk about. Amarjit, obviously, I don't think we should add too much to what Igor Stimac already said in that viral moment, man of the match against Curacao. He started the second game. He was, I think he kept up his level of performance. I think all the defenders, and just talking in general about the defense, because I felt like, I'm gonna use a very crude analogy here. Sitting through that match, and it was the atmosphere was pretty intimidating. Only 40% of the seats were filled. It was an afternoon game. I think a lot of the local fans had their morale blown when they lost to Vietnam. There's a rivalry there. They really did not want that to happen, but they lost in a very heartbreaking fashion. 94th or 95th minute, Vietnam scored the goal and went to the final. So yeah, not many people turned up, but the ultras were there, and they were putting on a display that you have to remember. fully coordinated, drum beats all over the place, going hard at it and cheering Thailand even when they were a goal down. And they were dangerous throughout. So many chances they got. There were a few scary melees where defenders were literally throwing their entire bodies in front of the ball just to block them from taking shots. So many tackles. It was Adil Khan who really did his best, made the most of his opportunity. I would say like his Anirudh Thapa obviously would be the man of the match, but he would be the next guy in the list, and Amarjit Singh as well. I thought Sandesh Jingan got nutmegged a couple of times, but these were the guys who really upheld the defense. So what did you think of Amarjit and the way the defense held up? Because even in 93rd minute, Thailand were back to back creating corners and free kicks and chances and taking shots. Amrinder just diving all over the place. It felt like taking a really constipated shit. You dread it, then you go through it. It's very unpleasant, but later you're happy you went through it. It's done with. That's what the game felt like.
You really didn't have to put that. Yeah, I think it was much better than
I know. I didn't have to put that.
Amarjit is the find of the season. He is the right engine. I think if we have to put two engines in that Ferrari Gadi of yours, I think it's going to be the double pivot of Amarjit and Anirudh Thapa. Anirudh Thapa, I think it's less that we talk about him and just hail him as next generation of the best players that India has produced. That goal line save that he made, that clearances that he's been, in the second game that he was at it, you could see him all over the pitch. That is somewhere good news and bad news. Good news because he was covering up for everyone. Bad news because I think he shouldn't have been doing the job of others. Where if the departmental work was distributed and done right, so that's some problem for us. But talking about the combination of Amarjit and Anirudh Thapa, I think this looks like the next best for India in the central midfield. A creative genius that Anirudh Thapa is. He's got that free flowing move. He can find spaces behind the defenses. He can find his players who are looking for a run, a diagonal or a through run. He's just brilliant. And Amarjit, he's not a captain. He wasn't the captain of the under 17 World Cup team for no reason. He's got a brain in his head that is made for football, and rightly so. I think he's the find of the national team. He's destined for greatness. I'm telling you, Amarjit is going to be a great player soon. And look at the age that he has on hand. He just needs to be fit. And he has already won the trust of his head coach. This is a prodigy that we're looking at, and I think we'll see a lot of these two players, Thapa and Amarjit, in the coming times.
Yeah, obviously, this is a perfect segue into Anirudh Thapa. And I said there is a very interesting analogy to make about Anirudh. And don't worry, it's not going to be the last analogy that I made, which I already apologize for. But see, last time we went to play Thailand, it was in Abu Dhabi. Similar weather, a little bit better than this. But that game and this game, how different it was. I mean, it turned out, it's astounding. And the main reason, I think we talked about it in the podcast episode after that, the main premise of winning that game for India was that Sunil Chhetri would have to cover an area which is approximately 3.5 times larger than the area he usually does cover. Right? Because what was happening, Sunil Chhetri was up front, Ashik was put just behind him, and Sunil was just to drag the defender and confuse them. He was tracking to the right whenever he could or saw the opportunity to. So the defender would be a little bit confused. It was, in theory, only going to work if there is a chance that arises in the center of the park, which ideally should not be handled by Ashik alone. Then Sunil would have to run back in time to cover, right? So it was about Sunil covering a lot more ground and dragging the defenders around and confusing them. That made the whole thing work for India. That created the space for others, created outlets where there were none. The Thailand defense had planned for, but in the end, the whole plan fell flat. In this case, Anirudh Thapa, I am telling you, he was covering an area that is usually 4 or 5 times larger than the one a player like him should cover. He's not your target man. He's not a out and out striker, but he was up there every single time when there was a chance. And he was down in the defense, being the fifth guy every single time there was a midfield move from Thailand, because that's what they tried last time and failed, and they were trying something similar this time. There was Sumanya, Titipan, all these guys just moving up to cover ground for Tirasil and Supachai, right? They were giving them assists, they were increasing number, they were creating pressure on the defense, and Anirudh Thapa tracks back on cue every single time that happens. So he obviously was the hero of the match in every sense of the word. He got us the goal. He was a constant threat. He was the reason Thailand was scared of moving up all the time. And he had that goal line clearance as well. Yeah, I almost closed my eyes because I thought the ball went in. But yeah, he did clear. So that guy in that weather, where if me and you, I don't know about you, if I run for 10 minutes in that weather, I would be like breathing like a dog with my tongue out 3 feet in like a Roadrunner cartoon. It would be like that, but he covered so much ground, and I don't have the GPS data. He must have run miles and miles. What did you think of his performance?
Yeah, brilliant. I think he is that missing puzzle that India's midfield was lacking, and I see it complete. And not just complete, I think he can pair up with another player coming into the next tournament. I think we will see some combinations being tried in the midfield, and we deserve that. We've really missed out on that big hole in the middle of the pitch, and that looks right, more or less covered by the introduction of Thapa and Amarjit. I just hope the combination that we're looking at, because we will need some more steel, we will need some more Pranay Haldar in the midfield to get that crucial crucial challenges in, which I feel may not be the right combination if Thapa and Amarjit play. So it's kind of something to try out for Igor Stimac there. We will see Brandon also coming in. So it's a lot of creativity in the midfield, but we need a little more steel over there. So I think Thapa was the anchor man that we were looking for, and he just needs the right partner to make it complete in the midfield.
You may have found a new nickname for Anirudh Thapa there, Anchorman. Not quite Ron Burgundy, but yeah, he's our guy who's anchoring the whole game. And how do you feel right now if you're in Eugeneson or some other attacking midfielder who were eyeing a spot in the national team? Here's somebody who just comes in, who's still under 21. And again, man, we're coming back to that same old theme of coaches, standing up and praising players. We saw John Gregory do the same for Anirudh Thapa during the Super Cup. In fact, on our YouTube channel and Facebook page, The Fan Garage, that video is up there. After the semi-final win, I think Chennai FC were going into the final, and John Gregory was doing the press conference with Anirudh Thapa, and he went all out to praise this guy. He just said, Anirudh Thapa can do what he wants, literally. And he was highlighting the diversity of his game. It just shows the guy is already being talked about as the successor to Sunil Chhetri. I don't see it as an apple-to-apple comparison, because Sunil Chhetri is a different kind of player than Anirudh Thapa. But as far as stature is there, as far as star power is there, as far as influence on the team is concerned, you think he's going to step in and fill the shoes of carrying the mantle of Indian football like Sunil Chhetri has?
Not really. We do see him as a good player, but as a captain material, as a leader material, he really has time for him to mature and reach up that level. So we've got a couple of candidates already there, but I think we are not ready to go minus Sunil Chhetri very soon. It's really a couple of times more for a definite performance to really be able to call up for that tag of being the next Chhetri.
Another guy who made his debut for the Indian national team is Sahal Abdul Samad. got his chance. I wouldn't say I was the most impressed with him, but he got the chance. He's young and made the most of his opportunities. Kerala Blasters fans would be pissed at us if we don't talk about him in detail. So, what did you think of him? Long term prospect for us?
Again, unsettled, but very raw. Abdul Sahal is talked about highly by Sunil Chetri as well. So, keeping that in mind, I think he's still some point away from where we can talk about not too much about him. But getting a start under a new coach, he really must have done things right to earn that place. So, great things looking up for him. He can be used in a variety of positions. I think really seen a handful of that in this tournament. So expect more to coming out from Sahal. That nervousness was showing. Out of the three things he was doing, two things right, and the third thing was letting him down. So it's really something for him to be a little more consistent. But again, a bright start for him getting a place in the national team. Breaking into the first 11 is really not easy. That should be a big motivation for him to just step up to his performances.
I think he needs some time with India under 23. Right, and this is where my old anger at IOA comes back in. We should be playing like tournaments like Asian Games, or just having tours for India under 23 as Olympic qualifiers or whatever it is. We should have more and more games for that squad, because there's so many national team players who look raw when they play for the senior team, and that is the perfect platform for them to mature in. I'm even talking about Lalianzuala Changte, who could use a couple of games there. Even Rainier Fernandez could use it and try to mature. Those players are also, they are deserving of mentions. Vineet Rai, Changte, Rainier, all these players who got the chance and went out there and performed to the best of their abilities. What did you think of these young players? I mean, Changte we have seen for a while, right? He started out in the South Championship 2015 under Stephen Constantine. It's been a few years since then, but he's still looked at as a talent that needs to be developed a little further. Do you think he should have matured and come into his own right now, or it's just a time game that we're playing? Because there's already Sunil, there's already Balwant, and others who are waiting to take the mantle of the striker, designated striker. Going up against that kind of experience, you're gonna look that raw, and you deserve a little bit of extra time just playing a peripheral role in the national team.
Yeah, these are the next generation players, and probably the older of the lot will be expected to be a lot more mature, a lot more commanding in the field when they are given the chance. Unlike players who are coming into the camp for the very first time, so a little more was expected from Changte. The way we talked about him, even in the under 23 championship. I think he's one of the notable players in the previous edition. So some more things expected, but it's going to be the next generation that takes India forward. We will not see a lot of players being picked up from this lot. Obviously, you require that physical strength, that mental strength, and that will be missing from these players. So expect a small quota of this lot of players to be making it to the next tournament and tournaments. But one mainstay, I think, what India should be is Adil Khan, and there's no way that we don't talk about Adil Khan enough. That shows that he deserves his place in the defense there, and he really played like a player who's seasoned into the national team. And if I have to pick one player whose performances in the domestic league have mirrored the performance in the Kings Cup, it has to be Adil Khan. He's so dynamic, and he is so strong, and he is so aware of the dangers around him that we need him to be a mainstay in the national team. Yeah, like for the other players, I think we really might not see most of them making it to the recent the upcoming tournaments. But yes, it does give you an idea of what to expect from Stimac if he's hanging around for a couple of more seasons.
It's a very new look team, and it's open season when it comes to getting a debut or playing a important role in the Indian national team. The coach has made it clear he's not going by records, he's not going by anything that has happened before. He will give a chance to everybody, which is interesting because Brandon Fernandes and Michael Susairaj did not really get too much of a role to play in Kings Cup. So, do you think the fans should be unleashed? How much stick did Stephen Constantine get for not picking Susairaj from all the fans from Chennai? Is it going to be the same this time, or because Anirudh Thapa has become a hero, Igor Stimac gets a pass?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, it's a whole lot of variety in the midfield, and what just suits your core system is what will stay. So it might be a lot of combinations being tried out, and that's the real key to make your core of the team. And a core really has been missing in the central midfield for quite a long time. And Brandon Fernandes does give you a lot of options. Did see him pick in the first match. How did he pick with a long ball? He behind the defense, he plays it so beautifully for Abdul Sahal. That's the kind of players that we are looking at to add steel to the midfield, probably being very creative and yet being not too overly passing types. So Brandon Fernandes and Susairaj are those players who are little bit more mature than other new players in the lot. Not really keeping them out already, but it's a tough competition. It's very intense in the midfield. It might just settle in for over a longer period of time than we really expect. So I think everybody stands a chance over there.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Igor Stimac has done what he said he would do. He wanted to create competition in the team, and he has done it. He wanted to expose a new level of competition to the young players that he has brought into the camp. He has done it. On top of that, he has given us a glimpse of a Team India that's deeper than ever, that plays a brand of football that's more exciting than ever. And it works against a team like Thailand, who were beating us roundly and soundly time and again. And this year, we have just established that we are going to be more than able to be competitive against these ASEAN countries, because we beat Thailand in one way with one set of players. Then fast forward a couple of months, we beat them again with a completely different set of players. We made it hard for ourselves by adopting a new style of play, and we still got the job done. It was so decisive that the Thailand coach came in the post-match press conference, and the first thing he did was apologized to his fans and to the people of Thailand for losing to such an inexperienced Indian team. Because literally they set this up as a revenge match. This was advertised. Thairat TV, who were showing the games in Thailand, whatever I could pick it up, they were talking about Asian Cup. They were mentioning what happened. They were saying like, okay, it's happening in our turf now. It's happening on our terms, and we are going to set the record straight. Didn't happen. India won again. And that, I think, is in the end has given the seal of justification to whatever Igor Stimac was trying to do. Because losing to Curacao, yeah, you could say it's a way better team with European trained players. But if he went and lost to Thailand, I guarantee you there would be a bunch of naysayers out there in social media saying it's all good to try out new things and new players and make 7 changes or 8 changes in the starting lineup. But look what happened. We beat a team a few months ago, and now we have lost to that same team. It was a dangerous gamble to make, and it has paid off. And we may be on the verge of an era that's different from the ones that we have seen before, at least in the last 20 years. Are we really reaching that next level, man? Because I saw Stephen Constantine as a necessary step to start the upward movement for India, and that's what he proved to be. He got us into the Asian Cup. He got our rank back up. We started beating teams that were beating us before, and now all of a sudden we seem like we're competitive with the best of the challenge that Asia can throw at us. Obviously not Japan and Korea and Australia and some such, but teams that a few years ago would have soundly beaten us. We can now take a second squad and be competitive with them. So is this the real upward trajectory that we are seeing in Indian team?
So it's a different philosophy that we're seeing at play here, and it's not really similar to what we've seen in the previous edition. Uh, Igor Stimac really wants to put the best foot forward, and we see offense from his style of play. It's not really sitting back and waiting for the opponents. He's getting to the ball, getting to the opponents, getting in that first shot, trying to win the second balls. So this is a way different feeling than we had in the earlier editions. This is more fast forward, and it's going to benefit for the national team to get the results and performances towards and along the way. Let's not jump the gun. Let's hope for the smooth transition to happen. It's only when the core of the team is set, we can be able to tell, we can project something that we can expect for the team. But as of now, I think let's have the transition that we are looking at from one philosophy to another philosophy to settle in, and only then we can look forward to things in the brighter way, or in a way that we can expect something from the style of play that we've seen.
It's going to get tougher. In Intercontinental Cup, we're going to face teams that are physically way more imposing than Thailand and can take our team to task, especially if we are seeing a lot of changes being made as Igor Stimac looks for that core, because he's made it clear his targets are the World Cup qualifiers, and in a way that's perfect because last time the World Cup qualifiers happened, we had a terrible performance. We just won one game against Guam, lost all others, played in less than ideal circumstances, but there's no point, crying over spilt milk, especially when some good things are happening in the Indian national team now. So the level of challenges will go up, and then we will finally see Indian team the length to which they can go to in terms of performance and delivery. One thing I want to take the listeners back to is what Igor Stimac said is the purpose of him as the Indian national team's head coach. He said, I want to create excitement in the heart of the fans. I want to wake them up to the possibilities of Indian football. So far, so good. So far, he has given us only excitement, sometimes too much to handle, especially for somebody like me. As I said, I literally was having a few heart attacks when Thailand were creating all those chances. Nerve-wracking as it was, it ended in a victory which justifies whatever he is doing. And let's see, he's the new king of Indian football. Igor Stimac is, and his quest is to take Indian football to the next level. So far, so good. We'll see what happens in the Intercontinental Cup. We will bring you detailed coverage from the venue when it happens, as we did from Thailand. The next stop will be Ahmedabad, Transstadia. We'll see new venue, new city that will host Indian football for the first time, the international team for the first time, and we'll see how it turns out. It will be the toughest Intercontinental Cup ever, and I'm hoping the teams that have been invited, they send their best, because if we are preparing for the World Cup qualifiers, we need to face the toughest challenges possible now, and not find ourselves out of depth out there. So yes, hopefully we will see some more special things happening, and Igor Stimac will reveal more of his cards, of the new things, the freshness that as Kevin said, he's brought to the Indian football team. We'll be doing more regular episodes, not like this one that you had to wait a few weeks for. Sorry for that. So we will be starting also a new segment called Fan Speak in the next episode. So you can leave comments on this video, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, and we will pick the best of them and address them. You could also send us questions at @TFG Football on Twitter, or you could send questions individually to me at Chiranjit Ojha on Twitter, or at Barboza_Kevin on Twitter. That's Kevin for you. You can send us questions, criticisms, whatever you feel like, and we'll pick the best of the lot and discuss them in the next episode. So thanks for listening. It's time for me to come back home. Thailand has been awesome. There's way too many experiences. The newness and freshness that Indian football team showed on the pitch. Gracious fans, local fans who hosted us, who took us out to drinks. Vietnam fans who came together with Blue Pilgrims to support us against Thailand. Special thanks to the Goan family, the FC Goa fans, who were holidaying pretty far away from here, right? They took a 8-hour train journey to come and support India against Curacao, and that's commitment, man. An entire family turning up, just being there vociferously for 90 minutes. AIFF as well, the people who travel with the Indian national team who have been so gracious helping us out, me and the other media persons who traveled. Hopefully this further encourages the fan and media contingents who accompany the Indian team. We need more presence out here. We could have, in the Thailand game, it was 10 Indian fans against 15,000 Thai fans. That's not much of a competition, man. We need a bigger contingent to follow Indian team. I know it's hard, but hopefully it grows. Intercontinental Cup, let's see a full stadium in Trans Stadia in Ahmedabad. Let's hope Blue Pilgrims again turn up in numbers. Come back to us in the next episode. We will be looking forward to the next big challenge that the Indian national team has to face, and everything else that's happening domestically. We didn't have much chance to talk about it this time, but maybe we will next time. So till then, this is me, Chiranjit Ojha, and with me Kevin Barboza, saying goodbye and keep... What line should we use, man? Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
I don't know.
And stay tuned to the Fan Garage.